Hello, and welcome to Turn Zero Loss, hosted by the Magic Engineers. Today, we are having a fun little conversation talking about the current ban list in EDH. We like to talk about this every so often because we feel like there are some cards on here that should be banned and some that should stay banned, for sure. Just to get us started here, we're going off of for me at least, I'm going off of the mtgcommander.net ban list. Quick thing to note as they refer to here, anything that refers to antis or conspiracy card types or even things that wizards themselves remove from constructed formats are not legal, so we will not discuss any of those. Otherwise, this episode would take us forever to get through.
Which is unfortunate because there are some really cool anti cards.
From below is the best draw spell in the game, so I mean,
Yeah. Stupid anti.
yeah.
We're just gonna go in alphabetical order. So basically, start with that left column and move to the right. So starting with the first one, Ancestral Recall. Keep it banned.
Get some help. Keep it banned.
That's too efficient of a rate. Also, I didn't know you could force another opponent to draw 3 cards.
Yeah, but you would never do that unless they were about to mill out, so
Absolutely.
yeah.
Up next, Balance.
Appropriately named.
Is a sorcery for 1 and a white. Each player chooses a number of lands he or she controls equal to the number of lands controlled by the player who controls the fewest. Then sacrifices the rest. Players discard cards and sacrifice creatures the same way.
I mean, 2 mana. It's too powerful.
Yeah. If it was,
I don't think it
more
should
mana,
be banned.
If
Really?
it was more mana, I think it could be argued that it shouldn't be banned. But for 2 mana,
It's too cheap. It's just too cheap for what it does.
Yeah, it's too efficient to hit that many.
Why do you think it shouldn't be banned, Sherry? I'm curious about this.
Cards like this, like for example, Restore Balance, is exactly like this, but it's just have a suspension card on it, is not banned.
Yeah, but you have time to prepare for it, though, like with Suspend. And other similar effects all cost more mana to do. 2 mana is just too few.
My thing is the format self-regulates. A lot of cards, it's the same reason why Soul Ring isn't banned. Because, like, realistically, you're not playing this until late game. And that's if you're really, really behind. There's not a lot of good situations early game or if you're about to win to play this card. There's no reason why it should be banned because it shouldn't really see play. It only should see play in CDH, if anything.
A big difference between this and Restore Balance is Restore Balance has Suspend 6. So they have 6 turns, and in EDH especially, 6 turns is a long time to either get rid of you or have a counter spell on it. That's probably what balances that out a lot. I feel like this is just, it's too efficient for what it does.
But would it actually be ran though? It's sort of like the idea of
it probably wouldn't be ran in like a casual setting. Like if any of us at our table pulled it out, I would immediately like just tell that person to get rid of that deck. Like that, it seems too rude. And it slows down the game way too much for what it does.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of 2 minds of the effect, but the fact that it's 2 mana just makes it too much for me. Like that's really the problem here. If it were like 5 or 6 mana, I'd be okay with it seeing it on a table. But the fact is, it's 2 mana, and that's just too little.
I do understand it, but I just think it'd be regulated to the point of because no sane person is going to put this in this deck from up until like a really high power level. And if they put it in there knowing that their deck's going to be like really behind on resources, their deck is going to be terrible anyway. And you probably would have eliminated it.
Thing is, casual players are never going to put it in because the card hasn't, to my knowledge at least, the card hasn't been reprinted in a very long time.
It was reprinted in the Master set.
I'm an idiot. Never mind. Forget everything.
Yeah,
it's like $2. Yeah, okay. So this is actually very much in the realm of affordability then. Okay. Yeah, I still think this should be banned. It's just too much for too little.
Yep.
I think we'll agree to disagree. I will stand firm. Like I would not run this in any of my decks, but I think I would be okay with like CEDH people running it.
The next one, Biorhythm. 6 green for sorcery. Each player's life total becomes the number of creatures he or she controls.
Unban this card.
It's from the old ban list. It's just been a kind of a holdout there for a long time.
Yeah, unban this card. There's no reason this card should be banned.
I think the only reasoning that they could have to keep it banned is with enough fast mana, this is a turn like 2 draw for everybody.
Turn 2, maybe, but I don't know. People run counter spells for stuff like this
Yep,
that just win games
absolutely.
instantly. So
Well, the problem is you can run this on turn 2, but how are you going to get down to really low life totals on turn 2? Because you would also have to get out what's an easy like life sync, necropotence, or other things, and those take a lot of setup to get out. I just don't think that it gets out very quickly in any situation.
Yeah.
And you have
8
to have
mana.
it.
It's always an
Yeah.
expensive card.
Exactly. Like I'm not saying that this is worthy to stay on the ban list. It should be unbanned by this point. But I don't know if they'll ever shift on it.
They should. This card is really not that bad.
It was
Speaking
supposed
of
to be
cards that they should shift on, just kidding. Black Lotus, stay banned.
I don't know. You can have
Yeah.
a Black Lotus and Commander now through
Jewel Lotus
Garth.
or Garth. Yeah,
One-eyed.
that too.
I think it should stay banned personally, just because. Oh, I mean, if they reprint it, then yes.
You're funny.
If somehow, some way they found a way to reprint it that is an illegal format way, sure, go ahead, unban it. Nobody really cares. There's already Jeweled Lotus. There's already ways to make Black Lotus, and with Garth, it's gonna affect the format a lot. It'll cause a lot more conformity because if you're not running Black Lotus, what do you?
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
the same kind of issue people have with Sol Ring. And that's another but it's also on a $25,000 card. We don't need to open it up. This can stay banned as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think you can stay banned, but I was playing devil's advocate. It's like technically it's already in the format, but
Power wise, it's technically not that bad, but like
it's bad.
in terms of availability, I mean, yeah, it's strong. Make no mistake, it's the best card in Magic. But like, I don't think it's the format winner that things like say Cyclonic Rift or Expropriate are. They get you there faster for sure, but
Yep.
they don't. But they don't win the game, right?
The next one, Braids, Cabal Minion, 2 black for legendary human minion. It's a 2/2. At the beginning of each player keep, player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land. I don't think
Unban
this
it.
should stay banned.
Yeah, I don't get this one. Why was this banned? Like, does it feel bad? Like
It was too powerful in the early days of Commander. Because this was it was one of the cheaper options.
There's a lot of effects that do that same thing now that are still legal in the format.
Yeah, and granted, none of them are. Most of them aren't commanders, but like generally speaking, this is really not that bad. Like once per upkeep is like, one rotation table kills 4 things. Good value, It's fine. Unban it.
Unban it. Should be unbanned. This card should stay banned. This next one, Channel, green sorcery. Until end of turn, anytime you could activate a mana ability, you may pay 1 life. If you do, add generic to your mana pool. In Commander, somehow, some way, you have a way to dump a bunch of mana to 1 spell after you get 2 green. You pay 39 life and you win the game.
Yeah, there's also the issue of like commanders like Thrasios, which are huge mana sinks as well. You can dump all your life basically and turn them into cards that either enter the field or go to your hand, and that's just obscenely powerful.
And there's the classic Channel Fireball combo.
Oh, Channel Fireball only kills 1 player, and it won't even kill a player in this case.
It's still fun.
Yeah, I don't know. This can stay banned. It's kind of a hard one to really justify running anyways.
Yeah, it should not be in Commander.
Yeah.
Chaos Orb. This is a really strange one. It's 2 generic for a, does it say mana artifact?
It says it's mono artifact.
Mono
in the text,
artifact. Yeah.
but it's basically an artifact.
You pay 1, you flip Chaos Orb onto the playing area from a
It
height
is
of at least 1
technically
foot.
It is technically a 1 in tap because that's what mono artifact is.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
They're tap artifacts.
So if you drop it from at least 1 foot, or is discarded with no effect. It must turn over completely at least once. So when you flip it, it has to flip. And when it lands, any cards in play that it touches are destroyed. As is Chaos. This is a weird card.
So
It's a manual dexterity card. It is.
it introduces too many logistical concerns.
That's why it's banned even in like Legacy and Vintage, because it doesn't welcome the people who are physically disabled because they cannot run this card, even though it's an extremely efficient card.
I say it stays banned.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be on.
It's just a logistic nightmare.
Yep,
Really?
absolutely. Coalition Victory. This one
Unban it.
is
Unban it.
Yeah,
Unban
the
it.
sorcery. Sorcery for Wooburg and 3 generic. You win the game if you control a land of each basic type and a creature of each color. This is pretty difficult to reach, so why is it banned?
It was,
Like-
again, old commander rules where this, like, cards like this, along with Biorhythm, were a problem.
Yeah.
And now that the formats are basically fast enough as it is, a big Timmy card like this doesn't have much of an effect anymore.
It
Yeah.
should be unbanned.
Yeah, let it go. I want to get a Coalition Victory win.
Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn.
Unban it.
It is 15 generic mana, or 15 colorless, I guess, mana. It is a 15/15 legendary creature Eldrazi. And it reads, Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn can't be countered. When you cast Emrakul, take an extra turn after this one. It has flying, protection from colored spells, and Annihilator 6. When it is put into the graveyard from anywhere, the owner shuffles his or her graveyard into his or her library.
I
That's a
repeat,
lot.
unban this card.
I'm kind of torn actually because I think this should stay banned.
I believe it should stay banned as well.
Yeah,
It
'Cause-
just it does so much, and if you're running a straight colorless deck to have this as a commander, you're gonna have ways to reduce that cost to close to 0. Or even if you don't run it as a commander, there's reanimation spells that'll let you get out into the battlefield pretty easily.
No,
which-
that's
well,
what
it
it's
can't
last
be put
about.
into the graveyard
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
unless you like delay that effect on the stack. But that
Yeah.
that's a little bit of tricksery.
Right.
I think my big problem with the card is that you can't really react to it, like because
Yeah.
you can't counter it on the way down. You can't remove it most of the time unless you have a Scour from Existence in your
Yep.
deck. So you have to dig for like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 cards in all of Magic that have answers to this particular thing. And Flying Annihilator 6 is nasty.
Yeah. If you can't block it, it's gonna smack you for 15.
Even you can't even block it most of the time because
Yeah.
it's pro colors. Like
Colored spells, not
colored spells, right?
pro-
Sorry,
yeah,
but still, that's still a problem. Like,
I will ask you this. Didn't we not just agree that Coalition Victory is an I win the game card that should be unbanned? What Emrakul basically is an I win the game card, along with Thassa's Oracle, Lab Maniac. You do win the game. If you get enough to have this card on the battlefield, you deserve to win the game. Well, that is why it should be unbanned, because it doesn't like homogenize the format. It's just another win condition.
but you can react to Coalition Victory. You can counter Thassa's Oracle's effect. You can do all this other stuff. There's not really any great counterplay to Emrakul. That's the problem. Is that Wizards just doesn't have colorless removal for good reason, because it's a hard thing to balance. Like, I just don't see where this card sees play and Coalition Victory doesn't. Like, I just don't see that world happening, because you can counter Coalition Victory very easily.
Plus,
And you would.
Another thing, you could run this card in any deck you wanted.
That's
I know
also
it doesn't-
true.
It doesn't belong in any deck, like not any deck, but every deck. But it can be run in every deck if you really wanted it to. So it's more of a matter of the fact that like it just causes a whole lot more problems than a Coalition Victory or Biorhythm could.
Yeah, because again, you can react to those. You can't react to Emrakul. Not really. All right. Shall I move on?
Yes. Let's hit this next one. Ireo Suratami Ascendant. It's 1 in a blue. It's flying. Whenever the 4th spell of a turn is played, flip Ireo Samatari Ascendant. I gotta flip my computer over to read the mob side. Let's see. It reads, it's Ireo Essence. Counter the first spell played by each opponent each turn. It's a legendary enchantment.
I will say something. I think before the printing of the most recent Jin Gitaxis, I would have agreed that this card should be banned. But now that I've seen that card, I think this card should be unbanned. They do the
This
same
card,
thing.
not even before that, like Kira Great Glass Spinner does something very similar to this as well.
Uh-huh.
Like, this is nothing. Why is this banned? I don't understand this.
Early
The
Magic.
only reason why it's because it 1 early Magic and 2 it could have been a commander because it's a legendary.
You can have a ban as commander, but I think the card has a place in the format.
That's an entirely
Yeah,
different
fine.
discussion of banned as commander, which I do
Yeah.
believe
Yeah.
they should bring back. But I don't think this
Yes,
card should be
but-
banned anymore.
I don't.
No,
think
I
it should
don't
be banned
either.
Anymore. Next one, Falling Star. Oh, it's
Manual
really small
dexterity
text.
card.
Yeah.
It's another manual dexterity. It's 2 and a red for a sorcery. Flip Falling Star on a plane area from height at least 1 foot. Deals 3 damage to each creature it lands on. Tap all creatures dealt damage by Falling Star. If it doesn't turn completely over, it has no effect. Manual dexterity, keep it banned. We don't care about that card.
Yeah.
Fast Bond. Well, it's 1 green for an enchantment. You may put as many lands as you want into play as you want each turn. Fast Bond does 1 damage to you for every land beyond the first that you played in a single turn. Enough cards on the battlefield, you could go in. It's really easy.
Yeah, I think this is a combo piece more than it is an actual like game breaking card on its own.
Yeah.
I don't really see why this should be banned.
I think
It's-
if
it's-
it was less efficient, because if it cost more to get out, then I could say it'd be a ban. But because it's 1 mana enchantment,
Well, like Expedition's 1 mana.
Yeah, but
Burgeoning's only 2. Like
burgeoning, you have to. This is so what this card enabled was someone to keep a 6 land hand with this card in it, and what you do is you play your forest, play this card, and then pay 6 life to mana accelerate to have 7 mana on turn 1. Not
But,
just
like-
like land, like having 7 lands on turn 1. That's ridiculous.
that's a lot, yeah, but you're doing 15 damage to yourself as well. That's not a small
no,
number,
no.
even a
It's
commander.
1 per.
For every land beyond the first.
It's when you play it, you get 1 damage for every land.
Oh, I thought it incremented.
No, it is
Nope.
1 damage.
Okay.
a single
Okay.
damage every time.
Okay, I could see the argument there. I don't know. I think that like cuz you still need to have the lands in your hand to make it effective, right?
Correct.
And that's not always guaranteed. Yeah, we all have Tales of Mana Screw, and it happens very often. So
Yes.
I don't know. I think this card is, if Burgeoning and Exploration are legal, I don't see why this can't be legal either. Because there is a downside, even if it's not a heavy downside. It could matter.
I think it's too much of a problem in higher powered metas, even in not even CDH. I think it becomes a problem really quickly.
Because I could easily combo off with this and in my Chilean deck, like just get a bounce land or something, have Chilean out, and have something else that like gains me life whenever a land comes into play, like a what's it?
Well, then that's just
Yeah,
another
exactly.
another combo piece then.
Yeah,
Like-
but it's too fast. It's 1 mana, and you gain more. You gain more lands out of it. Also,
I
need to
guess.
step back for a second.
Okay.
I don't know. I think this card is fine. I don't really
Yeah.
see why it should be banned.
The next one is Flash, is 1 and a blue for an instant. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you do, sacrifice it unless you pay its mana cost reduced by up to 2. This one was only banned because of CDH, I feel like.
It was
Correct.
it was leaking into main formats. It was starting to, so that's a problem.
Yeah.
I here's the thing, if it weren't for Thoracle, I don't think this card would be nearly as deadly. Because I know Flash Hulk existed and was a problem for the format for a little while, but I think Thoracle is much worse.
Yep.
Like,
I think Thoracle should have been banned over this.
I agree.
Because granted, it still enables like something with like a lab man effect, but the lab man effect requires another draw at the very least.
Or like a Protean Hulk combo. See how many.
Yeah, but those are cool, and those aren't like generally like those were a problem, but those can be answered.
Yes.
Whereas Thoracle is really hard to counter, even if you have the cards in
Well,
your deck.
It's the problem is it's hard to once your Protean Hulk dies. And I'm not saying Protean Hulk shouldn't, but it was in such an enabler for Protean Hulk that it's like there are a million different ways to get it. Like, for example, it was one of the combos was Viserys Seers, Disciple of the Vault, Lesser Manticore, and Malera Slovak Outcast. It's like because it just puts it on the battlefield. It's too easy. And it's like, I'm not saying Protean Hulk should be banned. I'm just saying that Flash should be banned. It just enable that too much.
I think like most players would use it responsibly though, outside of CEDH. And again, you can answer the Protean Hulk effect by doing something similar, or you could do something altogether different that is unrelated to the Protean Hulk strategy. Thorical, everyone at the table has to answer it immediately, or you lose.
I'm not saying that it doesn't. I'm just saying that Flash is a problem.
It
Even
is.
without- even
I
without
could
Thorical.
see it. Yeah, but I think most players use it responsibly. I think this could get unbanned if Thorical does get banned. And I advocate very heavily for Thorical getting banned. So,
Same here. Well, that's a conversation for another time, though.
yep.
On to the next one. I'll say one more thing on Flash, actually. I think that Flash should be unbanned, but it's more of like, it needs to be better self-regulated in the format if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
On to the next one. Gifts ungiven. 3 and a blue for an instant. Search your library for up to 4 cards with different names and reveal them. Target opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Put the chosen cards into your graveyard and the rest into your hand, then shuffle your library. 4 mana for 2 cards, or 2 cards in your graveyard. I think that's 2 tutors.
That's practically 4 tutors in any recursion deck. Like any Sultide deck is going to always run this card.
It's like here is 4 cards that don't care which one goes in the graveyard. Choose.
Yeah.
I think this is a good ban.
I'm fine with this ban. It's a really powerful effect.
I'm indifferent about this. I can see reasons why it should be unbanned and reasons why it shouldn't.
Yeah.
In higher power, it's more of a problem. In lower power, it's not a problem.
Yeah. David, do you want to take this next one?
Oh boy, don't I!
Keep it banned.
So the next one, much to my immediate displeasure, is Golos Tireless Pilgrim. 5 generic mana. It's a legendary artifact creature scout. When Golos Tireless Pilgrim enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card, put that card onto the field tapped, and then shuffle your library. You can pay Wooburg and 2 generic, exile the top 3 cards of your library, and you may play them this turn without paying their mana costs. So, here's the thing. I agree half and half. Like, I used to run this commander for context, and it used to be the leader of my highly unpopular, at least to them, Gates deck, which very unpopular with you. I loved it. But the problem, like, I think the actual ability of when it enters, it finds a land and puts it on the field is very fair, and that's totally fine. And it's a 3/5 as well, so it's not like a powerhouse in combat. But the problem is that people would constantly abuse the mana ability of this card.
Yep.
And they would abuse it constantly. So, like, when they roll it, they hit Zakama, they hit Nicol Bolas, Planeswalker, and then they hit like Expropriate or something like that. And the fact that it's 5 color means that it could get the bombiest, most powerful spells in Magic and play all 3 of them for 7 mana. So I understand the ban, even if it breaks my heart. I think if they printed this card, for like 4 mana, it finds a land, it puts on the field tapped, I think it'd be fine. I think people would run it, probably.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just a ban, personally.
I believe it's just a ban.
No personal bias in that at all.
Mine does have bias because I hated that deck with a bitter passion. This is the problem: it's so uninteractable. It's literally you get your answer. You can get your answers whenever.
Yeah, I get it. Like, I understand why people hated playing against this commander, and it was at one point the most popular commander in the format.
It's still really popular, even though it's banned. That's how much of a problem it is.
Yeah. I get it. I understand. Again, I think if it were like, if it removed that mana ability and just cost Wooburg to cast, I don't think anyone would have a problem with it. I think it'd be totally fair.
Yeah.
Or even if they scaled it back to you can only play one of those cards. I think that would be
a much more balanced
card. That would actually just have to pay Wooburg, and then you cast one of them. That's more similar to a Gauntlet of Power, I think.
Yeah.
Type of an effect, which I'm fine with. I have no problem with that. My problem is with this card that it literally does everything and makes itself faster. And literally, it's like the best. It can be the best tribal card. It can be the best big mana card. It can be the best lands card. And it's everyone.
Yeah. It's just the best at what it does.
Yeah. It's just too good. Yeah.
Up next, we've got Grizzlebrand for 4 and 4 black. Legendary creature demon. It's a 7/7 with flying, lifelink, and pay 7 life, draw 7 cards.
How can this be a problem?
Keep it banned.
Keep it banned.
I think keep this banned, yeah. That's probably fair.
It's just too good. It's the scourge of modern
too
and
efficient.
legacy. It's a good card.
Yeah, it's a really good card.
Yeah, on to another card that everyone hates because it does things too good. Hull Breacher, 2 and a blue, Merfolk Pirate, 3/2 with flash. If an opponent would draw a card, except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, sorry. Instead, you create a treasure token. Yeah, I think this is a good ban.
Fuck this card.
This card.
I absolutely hate this card. Like,
this card hurts, and I never want to play against it ever again.
I wouldn't even mind if it didn't have flash. That's the biggest problem with it. It could just come out in response to a huge draw spell, and you just lose all your cards, and your opponent gets all the money, and you just feel bad.
Yep.
I understand why it's banned.
Sherry?
If you have a dissented opinion, I'm going to say you're wrong.
I think that if alchemy ever existed, which I hope it never exists, it need to be errata without flash. Otherwise, I don't see a problem with this card.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I can get behind. Yeah, that's fair. I can get behind that.
Hey, on to another card that might have some weird opinions. Ionia, Shield of Emeria for 6 white. Legendary creature, Angel, 7/7 with flying. As long as Ionia, Shield of Emeria enters the battlefield, as it enters, choose a color. Opponents can't cast spells of the chosen color.
Unban it.
There's other cards that do the same effect now.
Yep.
Yeah, unban
it's
this.
9 mana.
I hate playing against it, but it's really not that bad. Like,
if you're in a monocolor deck, this is a really feels bad. But there's other cards that do the same thing, so unban it.
Yeah, other cards are cheaper and easier to play.
Yeah, either unban that or ban the other card that does the same thing.
Yeah,
simple as that.
Weird double standards going on
well,
here.
It's because I think we need to have this discussion, because the problem with the ban list is not that like they ban some of these cards, is that they use these ban cards as signposts to kind of avoid other cards. And I think that's a bigger problem, actually. Because like it makes it feel inconsistent, which I understand this, like, and to most people they understand it, but to the people who don't actually follow like kind of the philosophy of the format, where they're just like, oh, I can play this instead, I'll play this instead. They don't really like adhere to it. They understand the spirit of the format.
Yeah, I agree. That's I don't know, it just doesn't seem like it's ban worthy on this one.
Not anymore.
And a lot of this, not anymore at least.
Yeah.
They're just sometimes they feel really far removed from the meta.
Well, yeah, it's because the rules committee is a very elusive small group that plays more or less with themselves, phrasing, and no one else. So,
yep.
I don't know.
On to the next one. It's
Caracas.
Legendary land, tap for one white, or you could tap it and return it, target legend to its owner's hand. Enchantments on target legend are destroyed. That's the old text. The routed text is legendary creature. So I think this one's a worthy ban. Any white deck would run this card just because it's free protection for your commander.
I actually think this card could be on.
I agree with that.
I think this, because this card is also an effective check against other commanders as well. It has a lot of versatility. It's powerful, make no mistake, and I understand why you want it banned. But I think that it opens up new space in gameplay and adds more uniqueness. Even though like every white deck is going to run this, and you're absolutely right about that.
I feel super bad to play against it, especially if you need your commander on the board to do anything.
And just blow up lands. Blow up more lands. More people should learn land.
I was about to say that. I'm like, this is like, if this were unbanned, this is the reason to run land hate, land destruction.
That's fair.
And you know as well as anyone that like I am not against land destruction as long as you're not like stopping the game but you're about to win it's like I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah, and like strip mining something like this is totally fine.
It's a reason to have strip miner or wasteland or like any number, like demolition field even.
Mm-hmm.
There's lands that destroy other lands. Use them.
Yeah, this is totally fine. I don't see why this should be banned.
I think you guys are kind of swaying me over it. I think I'm leaning towards this.
Yes, come over to the side of land destruction.
Yes.
I honestly, I'm not a fan of land destruction, but some of it should be. Some of it should be. On to the next one. Leovold, Emissary of Trest.
The card that,
Creature,
that
Alpha
for the
Visor.
prof got rid of.
3/3. Each opponent can't draw more than one card each turn. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or an ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card.
This is why Bandus Commander should come back. I
Yes.
think this card in the 99 is okay. I don't.
Yes.
As a commander, it is oppressive and awful to play against.
I agree, 100%.
Agreed. Banner's Commander should be a thing.
Yeah.
It should bring Bob back. Just
It fits in stacks builds, and it's like I know people don't like stacks, but like if you're already doing that, you might as well be running this card because you're basically just limiting it like a hair more.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is Library of Alexandria. This one's, I don't know why this one's banned. I think it's just because of its reserve list, maybe? I don't know. Tap to add a colorless, or you could tap it to draw a card. Activate only if you have exactly 7 cards in hand. I'm reading the errata text because the other text does. It's just.
I think
This
it's a reserve list card.
is. Yeah, that should say everything we need to say about it. As power level wise, it's fine.
I think Gaia's
Yeah.
Cradle's more of a problem than this card.
Absolutely.
If you got
Yeah.
7 cards, you usually have a problem.
Limited resources. It's 1 white for an enchantment. When limited resources enters the battlefield, each player chooses 5 lands they control and sacrifices the rest. Players can't play lands as long as 10 or more lands are on the battlefield. That's worthy. That is a worthy ban. Because from then on out, everybody's locked out to 5 lands until a player is removed.
I disagree. I think the fact that it says each player gets to keep 5 lands, we were just talking about how much we liked Karn Silex, which does almost the same thing except it's 1 more land.
The thing for me that if you have less than 5 lands and the number of lands is over 10, you are locked out of the game for the rest of the game. Until somebody dies, you are locked out.
Well,
Even
not
if-
There's a lot
not
of
necessarily.
enchantment removal in the format.
Yeah.
There is, but you have to hope to draw it. But like this is just, it feels like it's too oppressive especially if you're early in the game, because this could come out on turn 1 if you really wanted it to be.
I think this card has an interesting space in this format. Like I'm not saying that I would like to play against it. I would probably groan and be a little annoyed if I saw it on the table. But
that's when it becomes player removal time, and that's what the format needs to accept. But it's
or just remove
Yeah.
the card. It's and it's not that hard to do. There's plenty of enchant removal in any color really, except for maybe red. Red decks would probably struggle with this the most, but I think that's like, you can handle it. Other players can take care of it. Like this is oppressive, yes, absolutely. But I don't think this card is ban worthy
and
necessarily.
I don't think it'd be ran.
it's not oppressive like Leovold
I don't think
is.
it'd be ran a lot either. That's the thing. There are cards
No.
like this in white
Yeah.
that do the exact same thing.
Because this is global. This hurts you too.
Yes.
And that's why it's like, okay, well, I would never run this.
Like most people, if this were unbanned,
So-
would just forget about it. The fact that it's on the ban list gives it more attention than it deserves.
I agree.
I'll just agree to disagree on this one. Lutri. I think this one is kind of an interesting one that I have an opinion on that might be different. I don't know. We'll see. Lutri the Spell Chaser. It's 1. Is it? So red, blue. Legendary creature, elemental otter, and it's a 3/2, and it has companion. Each non-land card in your starting deck has a different name, so that means that you can have it in the companion zone if it reaches that criteria. It has flash. Whenever Lutri the Spell Chaser enters the battlefield, if you cast it, copy target instant or sorcery you control. You may choose new targets for the copy.
So I think the discussion here isn't with the card itself. I think we all agree, like outside of the companion part, the card is fine.
Yeah.
But the issue is, what does companion have to do with commander? That's the real question.
Exactly.
I'm of the opinion that it's like I like the idea of the companion cards, like that they give a deck restriction. I don't like what they've done to all the formats, and plus you have so much confusion from the new rules errata. I think companion should be straight up banned, or this card, or there should be a banned as companion card section, which would be weird.
But exactly that. If this was banned as a companion, this could be run, and it would be fine. Nobody would have an issue with it. But because you can have it in the companion zone, that's the only reason why people have issues. Because In Commander, it's a free companion if you have red and blue.
I'm just gonna go back on my soapbox. I've already stood on before in this particular podcast and say that that companion was a mistake. It's a design flaw error that they should never repeat. I think there's no good way to implement it into any format, really.
Absolutely.
And it's probably the biggest misstep Wizards has made since Ante in terms of mechanical design. So I think this card, as far as I'm concerned, should stay banned. Yep. I just don't even have that discussion.
Yeah. Just keep it banned.
I would say keep it banned until Companion's banned.
Yeah, I agree with that. If Companion's banned, then this card should totally be unbanned. But
so the next 5 are really easy, in my opinion. Mox Emerald, Jet,
unban,
Pearl, Ruby,
unban,
Sapphire.
unban,
yep.
and unban.
They're unobtainable anyway. Who's going to run a fucking... There's only so many Mox Pearls, Mox Ambers, or not Mox Amber, but like Emeralds,
Mox Opal.
There's only so many like of these Moxes, the Power 9 Moxen that exist in this world, that if they were unbanned, you wouldn't see a problem. You'd actually just be able to actually see the rest of the supply of the Mox and realize that they're not as scarce as they should be. They are scarce, don't get me wrong, but like I'd rather see play with these Moxen rather than them in the hiding in the 4 corners of the sticky cabinets that they're in right now.
Yep, I fully agree with that. Let these cards see play if people want to play with them.
Absolutely.
I don't think they're not like they're strong, but they're not like oppressive. Powerful.
We have 0 mana artifacts in this format that give you mana. This isn't a problem.
Yeah.
The 0 mana artifacts that they have in the format give you card disadvantage most of the time, but in this case, it's not that. Like nobody's gonna be.
They either give you card disadvantage or they're narrow. This gives you nothing, but like I still don't think this is that much of a problem.
No,
overall.
There's much more powerful cards in the format now.
Yeah,
I think it should. It
just enables other shit, but I don't think they'd be played enough to warrant.
Panoptic Mirror. It's 5 mana. 5 mana for an artifact. Let me read the rest of it. As imprint, pay X and tap it. You may exile an instant or sorcery card with mana value X from your hand. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may copy a card exiled with Panoptic Mirror. If you do, you may cast a copy without paying its mana cost.
I kind of like this card, actually. It's a cool design.
Yeah.
Why is this banned?
Even in turns combo, early commander. It's because you can exile anything, but honestly, I think, frankly, dramatic, like ISO Rev combo is much more efficient at doing stuff like this. Like, you give this infinite extra turns, but ISO Rev ends up winning the game anyway. So I don't think this does a whole lot.
Yeah. Think of it this way: you imprint a extra turn spell in there, and that nobody gets to have a turn for that until you remove the artifact. So
people are going to remove the artifact.
Or
there's
you win
a lot
the
of ways
game.
to do it. There's no shortage of
Or
ways.
you win the game. Which, there's plenty of cards that just say you win the game already. So this one should just stick around. It's 5 mana, and then you have to pay the casting cost of.
You have to find the card
spell,
first.
and you have to have the card. There's a lot of pre-telling of this of what you're about to do.
Yeah, like for example, most extra turn spells cost 5 mana. So
So you're basically paying 10 mana to win the game.
If you have it in your hand.
It's very fair.
If you have it in your hand. That's the thing.
Yeah. That's the real check.
Next one. Paradox Engine. Whenever you cast a spell and tap all non-land permanents you control, it's a 5 mana legendary artifact.
As much as it bothers me, I think this should stay banned.
I hate this card immensely. It just slows down his game too much. Like, power-wise, there's worse stuff you can do than Paradox Engine, but I think it just bogs down games way too much.
It optimizes the format.
As well, yeah. Because every deck wants this card.
Keep it banned. Easy choice. Primeval Titan. It's prime time. 4/4, green, creature giant. It's a 6/6 with trample. Whenever prime time enters the battlefield or attacks, you may search your library for up to 2 land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. There's more powerful stuff than prime time nowadays.
Unban it.
Yeah, unban this. I think this is fine. You can get those. You can get those strip mines and wastelands that we've been talking about with those.
Exactly.
Fun.
Prophet of Krufix. 3 green/blue for a human wizard. It's a 2/3. You untap all creatures and lands you control during each other player's untap step. You may cast creatures as though they had flash.
So it's Seaborn Muse plus Vidalcan Orrery on a Simic rare. This I'm just gonna say it. This card is fine. Unban this.
Yeah, unban.
Like,
Yeah.
I see why people have a problem with it because it is really powerful. But creature removal is everywhere in the format, and
Absolutely.
you can always answer it. Unban this.
Totally agree with that. We got Reoccurring Nightmare. 2 and a black for an enchantment. Sacrifice a creature. Return Recurring Nightmare to its owner's hand. The effect is return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcerer.
I think this.
It's on the reserve.
I think it's
list.
also a combo. It combos with anything. I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
So it's on the reserve list. It's a problem. Keep it banned.
Yeah, I'm on board with that.
Ruffalos, Land of War Emissary. Tap, add green for each.
I will trade Gaia's Cradle for this for the reserve list.
Yeah,
Hands down.
Unban the stand
Like,
card.
this isn't that powerful. Is it because it's a reserve list
It's
card?
It's early
There's a-
Magic again. Like I've been saying the entire time, it's a problem. It was a huge problem in early Magic, but when this was
Yeah,
the most
it's-
powerful commander.
Yeah, and in fairness, even now, if it were to get unbanned, it would still be very strong. Any mono green deck would run this before anything like Galta or Azuri.
The next
Unban.
one,
was
Shahrazad.
That's
No,
a joke.
keep this banned.
Keep this banned. Keep this banned.
You know
Uh,
what this does.
If you don't know what it does, here's the rules text. It's gonna be on the screen. We're gonna keep it there for like 10,
Well, while we
15
just talk
seconds.
about it.
Did you read it?
Did you read about the sub
Did you read
game
it?
and then all
I
that
hope
other
you
fun
read it.
stuff?
Yeah, here's the Oracle text though. Players play a Magic subgame using their libraries as their decks. Each player who doesn't win the subgame loses half their life rounded up. Terrible card. Slows the game down a lot. Just keep it banned. Nobody should ever consider this being legal in any format, but somehow it is. In some of these weird formats.
It's actually
It's
also
legal in no constructed formats.
like the reason it says legal in some of these is just because some of these are obscure formats and they just don't update things.
So now that you've finished reading the rules text, I hope you understand what the rules are. On to the next. Sway of the Stars. Each player shuffles their hand, graveyard, and all permanents they own into their library, then draws 7 cards. Each player's life total becomes 7. It is 10 mana, so it's 8 and 2 blue for sorcery.
I think this card's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
It's
somebody-
balanced done right. I'm much cooler with this being unbanned.
It's how to shorten a
Yeah,
game of
if
Commander.
somebody
That's what I like
gets
seeing.
That's true.
If somebody casts this and gets it off, like, do it, man. Like,
Yeah.
you win.
Go for it, King. I'll go so far as to say that if any of you guys want to play this at my table, I'm more than happy to allow it.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm gonna get.
I have one.
I'm also
one.
gonna get one. We're all gonna get one. Let's do it.
All right. Next card, Sundering Titan. When Sundering Titan enters or leaves the battlefield, choose a land of each basic land type, then destroy those lands.
Unban it.
Unban it. This
Massive land destruction isn't as powerful as it used to be.
It is.
Unban.
Remember, it only
Yeah.
says a land of each basic land type. So if you're in a 2-color deck, well, it means 2 lands. If you're in a monocolor deck, it means 1 land.
Yep.
So
I actually think it's a good equalizer for
Yep.
5-color decks. Like,
yes.
because it really hoses them nice and hard, which they deserve to be because they're too powerful as
Now,
they
if you're
are.
in a monocolor deck, this feels really bad. Sorry, but
It
No,
feels a
you only
little
lose
bad,
one
but you
land.
don't really
It's
care
one
because
land.
it's 1 land. You lose 1 land. A Woober deck would lose 5.
choose a land of each basic land type, then destroy those lands. So yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's only 1 land.
Yeah.
For 8 mana and a 7/10,
Yeah, have it. Have it.
Have it. Sylvan Primordial. It is a 4/5, 2 green. Is a creature avatar for it's a 6/8 have reach. Whenever Sylvan Primordial enters the battlefield, for each opponent, destroy target non-creature permanent that player controls. For each permanent destroyed this way, search your library for a forest card and put that card onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle
You
your
old haymaker.
This
Yeah.
is a real beater of a card.
I don't think it deserves to be banned. This is a Timmy card.
It is a Timmy card.
This is such a Timmy card.
It's a big Timmy card. Yeah,
That's
I think
fine.
this is
Unban it.
fine. And green needs more mass removal anyways. Just a bit. This is good enough.
It's 7
Unban
mana.
it.
Unban it.
Time Vault. Keep it back.
What? You don't want you don't have turns?
Can we at least read the card first?
All right. Time Vault. It's 2 mana for a mono artifact. It's just an artifact, we know this. Enters battlefield tapped. Time Vault doesn't untap during your untap step. If you would begin your turn while Time Vault is tapped, you may skip that turn instead. If you do, untap Time Vault. Tap Time Vault to take an extra turn after. It's a haymaker. For 2 mana, Voltaic Key plus this equals you win.
And untap card plus this equals you win.
I think-
Like, this
Like,
card
Raj
combos
needs
really easily.
this.
No,
The ropes and pulleys do not need that card.
no. I think this is fine banned. It's a reserve list card. Nobody's gonna want it. Keep it banned.
Yeah, I'm cool without seeing this in a game.
Time Walk.
It's Time Walk.
It's Time Walk. No, keep it banned.
And unfortunately,
ISO plus Time Walk equals infinite wins.
Yeah. Take an extra turn after this one. You know what it does. Come on.
Yeah.
Tinker. 2 and a blue for a sorcery. At the time you play Tinker, sacrifice an artifact. So it's at an additional cost, sacrifice an artifact. Search your library for an artifact card. Put that card onto the battlefield. Then
I think this is a holdover from old ban lists. Unbanned.
same.
Yeah. I'm a little reluctant to say unban this one, actually.
It's pretty efficient.
It's ridiculously efficient. Like, think about it. Turn 2, you have a Soul Ring in play, you have an island, and you play Tinker, you sack the Soul Ring, you get Blightsteel. Turn 2.
But then you win.
Yeah.
Like-
yeah.
That's a really powerful line.
I think that should not. And
Unlikely it may sound, but every deck runs a Soul Ring if they can help it. So
yes, keep this card banned.
I'm fine with this staying banned, personally.
I'm indifferent.
This next card, I think, is worthy of unbanning, personally. But that's my personal opinion. It could be argued that with recent events, maybe not. Valerian Academy, the legendary land, you tap it, add blue for each artifact you control. I guess with all the treasures support that's happened recently, maybe not unban this.
This is a tricky one because, like, Gaia's Cradle and Sarah's Sanctum are cards I will always see play in Commander.
I mean,
and this card would undoubtedly see play as well.
I think I want Guy's Cradle to be banned. Second, I want if that's banned, artifacts are almost as prevalent in the format as lands. So this
Card
is stay
should stay
banned.
banned.
The only fair one is Sarah's Sanctum because there's only so many art or enchantments you can squeeze into a deck.
Yeah, this card I think is, with the prominence of incredibly powerful commanders like Urza and Brea that exist that all have heavy artifact support, this card I think just does too much work.
Okay,
comparatively.
yeah, keep it banned, absolutely. The next one, Trade Secrets, trade deal. It is you pay for 1 blue. It's a sorcery. Target opponent draws 2 cards, then you draw up to 4 cards. That opponent may repeat this process as many times as they choose. Why is this banned?
Because you can cause someone to draw out their deck. Because
Oh, okay.
Well, the opponent makes the choice.
Oh, yeah, the opponent makes a choice. So it's basically, I cast a spell, you lose the game.
Honestly, on that virtue, this should be unbanned. Because if you're fool enough to play this card in an EDH game, you kind of bring it on yourself.
Yeah. I would continue to do it until that.
it is up
person
to
draws
4
himself out.
cards.
It'd
So
be
it's
funny.
basically, it's kind of like Kingmaker in a way. It says up to
Oh,
4
yeah.
cards.
That's true. That's
Oh,
true.
it's true. Yeah, you don't need to draw that many.
I still think this card is cool enough to where I could probably
Unbanned.
see it unbanned. Like, I'm fine with it.
Completely fine with that one. This one, I think we've had conversations about something similar, but let's talk about this one. Upheaval. 4 blue. It's a sorcery. Return all permanents to their owner's hands. It says all permanents, so it's not just
Unban it.
lands.
Yeah.
It's like Cyclonic Rift, but it's way better than Cyclonic Rift, but also not at instant speed.
It's kind of one of those like hard game reset cards that exist.
Yeah.
I'm kind of torn on those
self-regulates.
because generally speaking, yeah, it self-regulates, but like it also, I don't know, it doesn't really do anything to advance the game. If anything, it makes the game guaranteed to go on for another hour if people don't want to skip.
Yeah.
I'm kind of torn. Power level wise, I say it's fine, but play pattern
It's actually
wise,
used
maybe
for
not.
combos, I think. It can be used for combos.
Yeah, I'm sure you can combo with this as well.
Sure. But I just feel like it's not. I think it should stay banned personally. As much as it could self-regulate, I just don't.
I'd still rather see this unbanned, just so play groups can talk about it and have that discussion. And there's no denying, like, I think having alternatives to Rift are always a good thing, even
Yeah.
if this one isn't the best.
That's fair. He craves only one commodity. Hey Sherry, remember when you had this card in a deck by accident? Yawgmoth's Bargain. It's an enchantment for 4 black. Skip your draw step. Pay 1 life, draw a card.
I don't see why this and Necropotence.
And
It's
Necro
like, I get
survives.
Necro is delayed.
Yeah.
But like this,
It's the same rate, but the downside to Necro is that you exile the cards you discard.
that's fair.
So I think that's the only reason why Necro survives and this doesn't.
I don't get it. You're at such a 6 mana to get this kind of engine up. I think is pretty fair. I think like you still get a downside if you still don't get to draw cards. Like it's Necro, but you don't exile the cards and put them in hand at end step. You just get them here. I think that's probably worth the 3 mana. I think this card honestly should probably be unbanned. How Yawgmoth's will survive in the format
I
is a
forgot
better
that that's
question.
still on hand. I just like kind of like thought we talked about it.
Yeah. We may have brought it up in passing, but yeah, Yawgmoth's will deserves a ban more than this card does.
Yeah, I think we should have a conversation about cards that should be banned, Commander, at some point. But I think we'll save that for another episode.
day.
I just like to point out that this card was in Sherry's deck, and he didn't realize.
I had bought it and I added it to the deck, and I'm like, oh, yeah, it's like this would be good for to even out my chainer deck, and
And then lo and behold, it was banned because it doesn't seem like a card that'd be
because
worthy
it was
of
6
banning.
mana. I thought
So that's
I thought the card that was banned that was like this was like 3 mana. So I was like, there's no way a 6 mana card is. Yeah,
Thought it was
I
Necro.
honestly thought Necro was banned for a second.
Well, this seems like a good place to wrap things. If you have any dissenting opinions with what we've said today, feel free to leave a comment saying, "Hey, you guys are wrong," and we want to see that.
Yeah,
Like the
I want to
video, share it. We want to hear
I
criticism.
want to personally disagree with everyone in the comment section because I had a lot of dissenting opinions on this.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want you to tell us why Leovold should be unbanned in all formats and is the greatest card ever.
Yes.
Go ahead and try and tell me that.
Go ahead. Just do that. And also follow us on Twitter. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.